agender, ambigender, admasgender, aerogender, anisogender, affectogender, agender flux, alexigender, aliasgender, amergender, ambigender, ammonec, amicagender, amoragender, endocrine, endocrine flux, anisogender, angel gender, anogender, anon-gender, antisgender, anexgender, apangender, apconscrew-gender, apertus-gender, apus-gender, aquagender, aquarius-gender, archigender, argogender, aristogender, arithgender, artistigender, astroflux, astrogender, atmosgender, arturgender, atugender, autogender, axigender, axiogender.
The word is sorry, I'll help us gender. Sorry. I thought you were using a point of order.
Oh, sorry, okay. Bafflegender, bakergender, biogender, blissgender, blurgender, boggender, portagender, biflux, breevegender, burstgender, caddisgender, calegender, cansagender, canisgender, cantrogender, caprigender, cartrogender, casflux, cavusgender, cisgender, celisgender, gender, centrigender, cervigender, chaosgender, circgender, circumgender, clarigender, cloudgender, clowngender, cogender, cognitogender, cogender, colgender, comgender, compgender, composegender, congrugender, constelgender, contigender, contingender, corugender, cosmic gender, cosmegender, comulogender, cyangender, silogender. And I must, please forgive me if I do pronounce some of these wrong. They're quite extensive, and if I do offend anybody reading this out and making mistakes, I apologise. Compgender, compostgender, congrugender, constogender, contigender, contingender, corugender, cosmic gender, cyangender, cyclogender, dalgender, dampgender, daysgender, deltagender, demigender, demifluid, demi-boy, demigirl, demi-bi, demiflux, demosgender, denantine gender, dentrogender, depressed gender, desertgender, design gender, devised gender, divine gender, demi-on-gender, dream gender, deluxe gender, dust gender, disophoric gender, endopho gender, ego gender, e-gender, eclipse gender, effort gender, elgrin gender, L-gender, emmet-gender, elex-gender, effus-gender, ember-gender, N-gender, N-gender, N-low-gender, E-gender, enthused-gender, endro-mo-gender, eno-gender, epic-gender, epigender, equil-gender, evapor-gender, evoke-gender, ex-gender, expand-gender, expect-gender, exter-gender, extract-gender, fabric-gender, fact-gender, fatty-gender, phase-gender, fawn-gender, fawn-agender, phas-o-gender, felis-gender, femi-gender, femi-fluid, femengender, fluisgender, flugender, ficgender, figender, flangender, flashgender, fluorgender, flexigender, flickergender, flingender, flowgender, fluid, trogender, fluid, jetrosexual, fluidender, flux fluid, fluxgender, fluxiongender, foamgender, flowgender, fongender, foreigner, fornogender, fragagender, flangender, frangender, frickgender, frigidgender, frostgender, fruitigender, fugogender, glackigender, galegender, gallongender, gallopgender, genderflux, gender fluid, gender light, gender satire, gender seed, gender wood, gender, genic gender, geogender, geo-low gender, gerangender, giggle-gender, glacy-gender, glisten-gender, glick-gender, gloom-gender, glossogender, glow-gender, glue-gender, gringe-gender, quick-gender, guaran-gender, guas-gender, gull-gender, gunny-gender, gust-gender, gene-fluid, gyno-gender, gyne-s-gender, haggy-gender, hated-gender, halo-gender. Sorry. Halo-gender. Hapslogender, hasengender, havogender, heelgender, heartgender, hedgegender, heligender, hemigender, hexagender, hydrogender, hymagender, hippogender, horogender, hologender, horogender, horsegender, hostgender, whomgender, hurricane gender, hydrogender, hydronger, hypegender, hypergender, icongender, imbergender, emogender, impulsivegender, inagender, indagender, indio-gender, infinity gender, inzig-gender, intelligender, intergender, interflux, Isaac gender, Iris gender, isogender, intergender, intino gender, itsy-gender, Daniel gender, gender, Juscus gender, Jordan gender, junk gender, Jupiter gender, just gender, kaleido gender, kaleidoflux, calogender, Kepler gender, kerfuffle flux, canique gender, kiss gender, corogender, cryptogender, corogender, Latonic gender, lagan gender, lamin gender, lampad gender, lampus gender, Latin gender, lavender gender, lentis gender, leo gender, levin gender, listen gender, living gender, locus gender, logic gender, log gender, luke gender, logic gender, lounge gender, login gender, lumming gender, lunalo gender, lunar gender, rig gender, luster gender, lux gender, magro gender, magno gender, magpie gender, magno gender, majest gender, mago gender, malu gender, maple gender, marin gender, marin gun gender, marvel gender, mass gender, massal gender, matic gender, maxi gender, meand gender, me chan gender, medi en gender, medley gender, melaco gender, medley gender, mel odi gender, mimi gender, ment te gender, merkel gender, mesogender, metamorph o gender, microgender, mistias gender, maya gender, myage gender, my o mimo gender, mo gender,
Field. And a point of order, please.
The Senator trying to make the point that the number of genders is infinite, in which case we may be here for a very long time.
Thank you.
Well, I think there's
Really
just
a point
about...
of order, but
well, I think it's
relevant question at the same time, but not a point of order, but thank you for raising the matter.
I think it's important that we know then what the word gender mean. Does it mean these particular genders? And I think this is important to read them into the record of the House.
It's not a very good use of time.
It may not be, but this is a really
in the context of it. I know it is. I know it is.
Senator,
but in the context of a guillotine.
Thank you. Could we address our remarks to the chair?
Microgender, metis gender, my gender, microgender, memo gender, molt gender, momenti gender, money gender, mooncan gender, morpho gender, mos gender, multi gender, mountain gender, mauve ender, multi gender, mundang gender, monk gender, muran gender, musis gender, mutate gender, myo gender, nap gender, narrow theo gender, ni bulan gender, ni fast gender, neo gender, negi gender, nimmer gender, Neptune gender, nervy gender, netro gender, next gender, nico gender, night gender, nibus gender, not gender, nobi gender, non-binary, non-gen gender, non-key gender, novas gender, null gender, numeri gender, nux gender, nitro gender, os gender, oblique gender, of new gender, oclu gender, ordo gender, off gender, omega gender, omni gender, omnis gender, omni-ver gender, omni-move gender, orni gender, orto gender, ob gender, opaque gender, oplas gender, open gender, opi gender, opulence gender, opus gender, obus gender, orchi gender, orchi gender, oro gender, or oregan gender, oscillate gender, omas gender, overcast gender, ovo gender, ox gender, oxto gender, os gender, passy gender, pattern gender, palo gender, pamiflux, pamlo gender, panarchic gender, pander gender, pans gender, pants x gender, paragender, palo gender, parasol gender, parch gender, partic gender, pas gender, parta gender, pegas gender, pel-e-gen gender, perennial gender, perigender, permi-mono gender, perma-gender, peri-gender, persecuto gender, perso-phono gender, petro-gender, phantom gender, phlegm gender, photo-gender, phototropo gender, furrow gender, piano gender, pic gender, piata gender, pigeon gender, pink gender, pio gender, pixie gender, plasma gender, plata gender, plato gender, please gender, Plio gender, Pluto gender, poetry gender, polar gender, polaris gender, polystrocus gender, positovo gender, pos gender, poche gender, prairie gender, precaric gender, precipient gender, permi gender, prima gender, priva gender, probabil gender, prod-e gender, prodmo gender, profect gender, progene gender, pro-le-flux, pro-gender, prosp gender, proto-gender, purge-o-gender, pyro-gender, quasi-gender, quasi-gender, quest-e-gender, quiet gender, quid-gender, quinx gender, ray gender, radiant gender, rainflux, rano gender, rapporteur gender, raven gender, ray gender, rayon gender, ready gender, medium gender, recurry gender, reflexo gender, regender, reddit gender, re-engender, relic gender, relic gender, reignite gender, repentagender, respi gender, restitute gender, retro gender, re-vid-ender, riva gender, rex gender, ripema gender, Rima gender, riptide gender, rishi gender, Riven gender, river gender, Roman gender, robot gender, Roku gender, Rocky gender, Ro gender, romantic gender, Rosa gender, rose gender, rotund gender, ruby gender, ruin gender, rust gender, rush gender, sable gender, sacred gender, safe gender, Sagitt gender, Sagittarius gender, Sabo gender, Samo gender, Salumu gender, Sand gender, Sanda gender, Santi gender, Sapflux, Sap gender, Saf gender, Sancher gender, Central gender, Sub gender, C gender, Silu gender, Sedata gender, Self-figurenda, Sensor gender, Sensio gender, Sepia gender, Secrio gender, Sereno gender, Sap gender, Shar gender, Shatter gender, Shift fluid, Shift gender, Shimmer gender, Ship gender, Shoal gender, Shoe gender, Shy gender, Siam gender, Sibi gender, Sick gender, Side gender, Sigma gender, Silan gender, Silo co-gender, Silk gender, Simula gender, Single gender, Singularity gender, Sinister gender, Siren gender, Six gender, Skate gender, Skelic gender, Sky gender, Sky Lar gender, Sleep gender, Slide gender, Slog gender, Slush gender, Smar O gender, Smile gender, Smog gender, Smoke gender, Snow gender, Soft gender, Solar gender, Solemn gender, Solid gender, Silo gender, Slovo gender, Solemn gen gender, Somni gender, Soan gender, Sonic gender, Soan gender, Soup gender, Sand gender, Speed gender, Spick gender, Spillinger, Spirit gender, Splash gender, Splendor gender, Spook gender, Spray gender, Spring gender, Sprite gender, Spritz gender, Spur gender, Squall gender, Squawk gender, Squeal gender, Straddle gender, Stage gender, Stalic gender, Stalicmite gender, Starlight gender, Star gender, Static gender, Stellar gender, Stellar gender, Stern gender, Still gender, Storm gender, Stover gender, Stratagender, Stream gender, Street gender, Strict gender, Stro-bio gender, Struck gender, Slug flu, Subgender, Sub-Q gender, Subri gender, Subterran gender, Successor gender, Subgender, Sunrise gender, Sunset gender, Super gender, Superflux, Supreme gender, Super gender, Surf gender, Surprise gender, Suren gender, Swarm gender, Swelter gender, Switch gender, Sword gender, Sky by gender, synergy gender, synod gender, siren gender, sisto gender, taboo gender, tadpole gender, tailor gender, talum gender, tar gender, tassel gender, tech fluid, tech gender, tempest gender, temple flu, flux, temporal gender, tenebro gender, tension gender, tent gender, ter gender, teran gender, tesser gender, tessie gender, texture gender, taslo gender, taw gender, thermoflux, thermogender, thistle gender, thorough gender, thought gender, thread gender, three gender, trump gender, thunder gender, tiger gender, tie gender, tio gender, tie gender, tiger gender, tint gender, time gender, turno, dog gender, touch gender, tower gender, trace gender, traffic gender, transgender queer, transient gender, transit der, triangle gender, tricus gender, trident gender, triform gender, trilix gender, trot gender, troubadour gender, tro gender, trumpet gender, trucks gender, tsunami gender, turbo gender, turntable gender, tute gender, twig gender, twirl gender, twitter gender, twilight gender, twinkle gender, twinkle len gender, type gender, typo gender, tri-row gender, ultra gender, umbra gender, umbrella gender, uni big gender, you arrow gender, you binary, you blur gender, you clo gender, underflux, under gender, underflow gender, uniform gender, union o gender, unique fluid, unique der, no gender, you no gender, se gender, unsum gender, gender, updrafted gender, uplift gender, upper O gender, urano gender, urgo gender, urano gender, euro gender, uras gender, usher gender, utapin gender, utensi gender, utopian gender, vacat gender, vagender, vagabond gender, vague gender, valency gender, valley gender, valen gender, van gender, vary gender, v gender, velocity gender, veil gender, velum gender, velvet gender, venender gender, dio gender, Venus gender, verb flu, verb gender, versatil gender, vesp gender, vibrata gender, victor gender, verti gender, vertender gender, villain gender, vine gender, viola flux, viola gender, virtue gender, vision gender, vita gender, vita gender, void gender, volta gender, volt gender, voyage gender, vocal gender, whale gender, warringer, war gender, wedge gender, welcome gender, whisper gender, whist gender, white gender, willow gender, wind gender, window gender, windy flux, winter gender, wobble gender, wooden gender, work gender, woven gender, rat gender, reno gender, ringer gender, exile gender, XME gender, XO gender, exograph gender, extra gender, exilo gender, exilo ender, yarno gender, yono gender, yearn in gender, yellow gender, yield gender, yo e ender, young gender, youth gender, yitter, big ender, zypho gender, zero gender, zigzag ender, zo d ender, zo gender, zo engender, zoom gender, XY gender, and exilo gender.